Because we control our market. So the traders want to partner with government. The traders want to control the market. Whosoever is giving them backing to oppress the poor masses, we shall expose that person from Benin to Abuja, from Abuja to Lagos, from Lagos to Port Harcourt.
Hello, good afternoon. Nice to joining us. It's still another wonderful edition of your program, Business Today on Edo Broadcasting Service Reloaded. My name is Uncommon Emmanuel. How has your week been? You know how we do it on this program. We get to spotlight events that have commenced within the week, then also begin to profile our forecast into events that may come up within the week. And also, you know how we do it on the program. We are concerned about your personal and financial well-being. We get to bring our consultant, our guest, who will be giving you hands-on information on what you must do now to take you from where you are to where you ought to be. But by all means, we are saying we know that there are currently challenges as individuals, even as a nation, but by all means ensure that you are moving from point A to point B. That's how I want to welcome you again. You know how we do it. We take a brief stop at what the papers are saying. We're looking at the online version of the business dailies. Then we'll come over to our guest and the conversation continues in essence. I'm sticking with with Business Day newspaper this afternoon, and we're looking at the various headlines. You can also grab a copy of them to keep yourself up to speed. And we have the boldest headline here this afternoon. Nigeria interest rate has been hiked from for the fifth straight time to 27.25%, and that seems to be quite high because that's just from the CBN. We know before it gets to the commercial bank, and it will be far higher than that. For economic implication of the Nigeria latest interest rate, I think if you are into business and you are serious, you need to see these implications. Also, we have Nigeria cook in tears as gas price rises by 70%. I think we'll be looking at the food industry on the first segment, and we'll probably talk about that. Telecoms explore renewable as monthly energy bill hits 56 billion naira. Interest rate hike, eyes inflation, naira stability, and that's credited to the various management holding that. Flour Mill to buy out minority shareholders after regulatory approval, and jobless rate rises on multinational exit and factory closure, and that's not so bright side this afternoon. And we have naira losses 95.83 naira on official market after rate hike. Also, Nigeria CNG initiative is drawing significant investment interest, and that's credited to Oluwagbemi, who is the PI CNG program director. And lastly, Nigeria eyes wider tax nets with identification, consolidation, and collaboration in new bills. All right, get a copy of these papers and many more, or you can get the online version and keep yourself up to speed with what is happening in the nation. And this afternoon we'll be having our guest. We'll go straight to the conversation. We'll be having our guest, and we are looking at something that seems to be an issue here in the nation. We are aware that the flood is destroying a huge part of the production beds of our nation, talking about the north and the northeast and so many other places, and that certainly is affecting the food security. Today we're looking at food, the value chain, and how young people can come on board to ensure that we increase and we better the food value chain. So we're exploring the food value chain in Nigeria, the food industry value chain in Nigeria, and I have no other person who will be joining me in this conversation, an excellent mind and a consultant. She's no other person than Mrs. Ihedima Mrs. Yedima. Oh, I think I got that right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon this afternoon. Now, let's quickly go straight to our conversation today. Now, you give us an understanding of the agricultural value chain, because when we talk about Greek, the thing that is coming up in our mind may be just to say we plant planting of crops, rearing of animal for man's use, which I know it is has far gone beyond that. Give us an understanding of this value chain, then we can begin to make headway from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, viewers. The agricultural value chain in Nigeria, or globally as it may be, it's in different segments. The first, of course, it starts from the farming, both animal husbandry, the crop farming, and fisheries also. So it starts from the production of the animal or the plants that give us the food. Then the second stage is the processing, where the food is transformed into maybe a less stable or more stable form. From food processing, we can talk about logistics, distribution, either through logistics companies or through retail outlets, the open markets and retail shops. So after the distribution, the final stage is the final consumer. Of course, final consumer for most of us is either the home or the food retailers, the restaurants, another value chain. Thank you.
All right, now we have seen this. Let's look at some of the major, should I call it, some of the major agricultural products that Nigeria is sustaining, depending heavily or absolutely on that, because you have given us the value chain, how we move from here to here and here. What are the key agricultural products in your understanding that is driving the food industry in Nigeria?
Okay, the Nigerian food industry, the major drivers are largely the products that are our staple food. So you talk about products like rice, peanuts, that's groundnut, cassava, palm oil. These are our staple food products. Maize, soya beans, and they are also the major drivers in the economy, because it's what drives demand of the public. What public is demanding for, that's what drives the food, both locally and also most of them are also of global value. So it also applies internationally.
Now let's look at some of the challenges, because I think these are some of the things we want to begin to look. We are stared in the face by food insecurity, because the farmers seems to be doing their job. I think they are the first point of contact. They seem to be doing their job, though not to the scope we want them to do, but at some point we can say they are doing their job. They produce, but this food or this like you said, don't get to the markets even in raw form. Most of them perish in the farms, so some few gets to the market, and as such the demand for them makes the price very, very exorbitant. Then we have other issues where we now talk about the ability to just stay at that level. We don't go into processing, we don't go into exporting, and as the case may be. Give us some of the challenge Nigeria's farmers are facing in when it comes to production of high quality food production.
Okay, the Nigerian case is complicated. The challenges are quite enormous. I must say Nigerians are really trying, still having food despite the existing challenges. If you look into Nigeria, the latest report we have is that about 3.5 trillion naira worth of food perishes in Nigeria annually. So that's a huge sum.
Very huge.
That's a huge sum. It's even higher than the annual budget. So when you look at this kind of wastage, you see that the challenges are massive. The major one I'm seeing that has affected me directly is infrastructure. Our roads are not good. Our roads are not okay. The major one is there's no proper road network to the villages or the farmlands and farm settlements. So infrastructure is one of them. High transportation costs, of course, bad road lead to that also, and the fuel situation in the country now also increases transportation costs. Another challenge that is faced in food processing is also cost of setting up processing facilities. For instance, if you want to go into fashion, for instance, you sewing machine and the rest of them,
which are very, very important.
Yes, there's low entry point. But when you are going into food processing, the barrier is higher because every equipment you are talking about has to be of a certain standard.
Obviously.
Yes, it has to be of a certain standard because of public health, and also those are quite expensive. So when you're talking about equipment cost, you're talking about the logistics involved, fuel prices, insecurity is another thing that affects like normal insecurity, not food insecurity now. Normal insecurity. Farmers are experiencing a lot of challenge in the farmlands, kidnapping, heads, men situation, and the rest of them.
Farmer clashes.
Yes, all those clashes and safety in the both in the rural areas and the public spaces. That Nigeria is not one of the most safe places around the world.
We're not proud to say that.
Yes, we're not proud to say that. So insecurity is a major driver of the situation we have in the food system in Nigeria. Well, there are many, quite a lot of them.
All right, let me come to your space where I think you are very, very comfortable with. Let's look about processing and manufacturing. Okay. Because if we stay with the subsistent and maybe above average subsistent that we do, maybe because I don't think we have that kind of high scale manufacturing or mechanization, so to speak. I don't think we have more of that or much of that in our nation. Now let's look at processing and manufacturing. How developed is Nigeria food processing sector? Because it seems we still stay with the crude part where we produce raw material. We still stay with the raw material part. Everything we do is raw materials. If we want to process, we just stay with maybe one or two on the value chain. How developed? Where are we when it comes to processing our food? Because that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where some of the challenge. As a matter of fact, that's where bulk part of the profit is. How developed is the manufacturing processing sector?
I'll say there's a lot of room for improvement. We're not where we were when we started.
Where are we?
Where are we? Where are we is that we are somewhere still below where we should be. Okay, so if I say, if you compare us with, you can't compare us with countries like China, you can't compare us with the US, you can't compare us with the Netherlands, but we have, I see a lot of products from Nigeria now competing on shelves with other global brands, and it's an improvement. So I must give credit to the Nigerian SMEs. They've gone a long way. Many are certified now, FDA, NAFDAC, HACCP. Many people are certified now and are getting products that are competing globally. But a lot of work still needs to be done. A lot of investment still need to come into the food sector, into the food processing sector, because even the people that are pushing, many of them are pushing with personal funds, and there's a limit to which that can go. Many of them are bootstrapping, so you see that the progress is actually very slow. But if it's something that we can have an inject of funding into it, then we can explore bigger opportunities in manufacturing, full-blown manufacturing rather than just agro-processing. Then we can go into higher value addition. So instead of just basic refining, we can go into producing higher value products that have higher economic value.
I think you really do well as a good ambassador of the nation, because you shy away from giving us facts and figures. Because I wanted to know, where are we? Are we below average? Are we doing poorly? But
we are below average.
Below average.
We are surely below average.
But
I will not say that we are not doing anything. SMEs are doing a lot. Government is also trying, but there's a lot to be done, both by SMEs and the government and even the academia. There's still a lot to be done.
All right, now let's look at technology, because we know when it comes to food processing and manufacturing, technology plays a lot of role. Now, what role does technology play in enhancing food processing? Because we now have so much technologies helping to make things work, make that work. What is the role that technology is playing, and what are Nigeria SMEs doing to follow that line and ensure, because we want our food to be processed, we want to be there. By all means, I think that's where my passion is this afternoon.
Where technology comes in food processing. Food processing globally has gone far. It has gone wild. It has gone beyond our imagination, But Nigeria, we are still, like I said earlier, we are still pretty much below average. And not to start passing blames on whose fault it is, I would rather say what can we do about it. Okay, so technology is expensive. If you want to employ automation in processing, many SMEs are struggling to get basic equipment. Many are trying to locally fabricate.
I think I was about coming there. What are local fabricators doing? Our local engineers, what are they doing? Are we running the nation? I think I saw Robert Abati saying with textbook knowledge. Where are our local engineers? If we can't get there, up there, we can get at least here. We can fabricate. We can work out something.
There's a lot of work need to be done in local fabrication, because part of what drives the cost of food up is that the processing equipment, majority of them are imported. Our mechanical engineers, our welders, technicians, there's a lot of work they need to do, into getting. I've tried in my organization, we mentor some SMEs to come up in food processing, and when we look at their cost, we start considering the budget. So we speak to some fabricators to see if we can imitate some of the equipment that we need to get us the desired product. Then you find out that people claim to be who they are not. We've gotten our fingers burnt a couple of times. Apart from the basic drying machines, once you go into something
a bit complex,
it becomes very difficult to get a local fabricator. But we also have our local research institutes in Nigeria who have also done a lot in fabrication, not just research and development in the aspect of fabrication. They also have their technology transfer arm where they can also service the public. So there's work being done on that area, but the pace is slow compared to the need on ground.
It seems our food industry is work in progress.
It's work in progress, but that work is moving at a snail speed.
All right, now let's look at distribution and logistics. Now, you see around the city where people are distributing, let's say, livestock, meat, so to speak. These are consumable, what we eat. You see them, they just pack it anyhow. They're on the floor, flies are on them. You just put them on the wheelbarrow and they are taking it around the street. And you wonder, where's the place of hygiene when it comes to distribution and the necessary logistics in transferring this. But now let's look at perishable goods. To your own understanding, do you think we are doing very well when it comes to transportation? Sometimes you see bringing tomatoes from the north and they're bringing it to around here. You see that there's already a fuel tanker. By the side of the fuel tanker, you see they put basket of tomatoes and it's strapped to that's fuel and tomatoes. I don't know how they are related. Or is it the ingenuity of our farmers? Or let's look at distribution and logistics, because I think that's where a whole lot of things are happening. Yeah. Where are we as a nation when it comes to logistics and distribution?
Logistics, a lot need to. I think if I use this word, I'll say there's need for a total overhauling in what's going on in food logistics within Nigeria, because public health is not prioritized, is not looked at as something really important when most people are transporting food. You see people transporting food, meat, for instance, from the abattoir to the market, and even how it is being handled within the market. No iota of hygiene, no concern for contamination.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you see people that sells fruit. I don't want to mention names. You see selling fruit. They take the fruit raw, they wash it in gutters, then and you feel disgust. and somebody buys it. You know, our nature here, you may not even wash it, you just
And
consume,
it's on the go.
and the person falls ill, and that's another problem.
It's a culture problem. It's a culture problem. And
What
it's
are you? What is your organization doing to solve these problems?
Well, my organization, FDI Hub, what we are looking at, or what we have started doing, is awareness. We have crafted programs on food safety, public health. To then we are trying to, apart from making it available to people at a very low cost, we will also create webinars where we talk about these things. You know, from creating awareness and people getting to know the implication of consuming such products, and also encouraging people to go into entrepreneurship to do it the right way. Because if people come into entrepreneurship and they do it the right way, then people will have options. Sometimes you come to the market and you don't have an option. All the meat sellers are on the table, slicing the meat, speaking over it, talking over it.
Taking it.
Yes.
Flies are.
They are not even driving the flies. The flies are doing their thing. It's when they want to cut, they whoosh. So you see, when you don't have an option, there's no other alternative, and you can't grow your own animals and operate your own abattoir in your kitchen. So if we, as we are starting to encourage people to go into entrepreneurship in the food sector, that's our tool to curbing some of these things. So if people have an alternative option, if you know that if you can come to a shop, you have clean meat, you have clean food, you have properly handled food. If you have the alternative, then you can go there. And we also create awareness so that people will know. Some of them are doing these things not because they are wicked and malicious. It's just ignorance. I came across a person who was roasting groundnuts with acid.
Acid.
Yes.
Frying groundnuts.
Yes, he roast groundnut with acid. And he was talking to me when he found out I was a food technologist. He was saying with so much excitement as the innovation he has.
Acid.
Yes.
So,
such that if he drops a few drops of acid, hydrochloric acid, into the pan of groundnut, and he swirls it, and in 3 minutes. What is 3 minutes? In a few seconds, the groundnut is well roasted, creamed, and uniformly brown.
Wow.
So he was excited at his discovery.
So what's the health hazard of that? Because it affects the intestines.
Chlorine poisoning. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It can handle the internal organs. It can damage the internal organs. And the thing is, we don't do a lot of autopsy in Nigeria. When a man dies, we blame the last person that caused it. so we don't really trace the cause of these problems. So he was proud, and I was trying to educate him. It took a lot, because people are going into food manufacturing without basic knowledge of science. So you see, some of them they are not wicked, they are ignorant. So there's a lot of education that needs to go out to the general
should we say
public.
they are ignorantly wicked, because you want to now
ignorance is leading to is harming the public. It's harming the public generally. You see somebody that is cooking in a very unhygienic environment, she eats from there. If she was malicious, if she wanted to harm the public, she wouldn't be eating from it. So you see that it's absolute ignorance. The meat seller we're talking about takes from there.
Sure.
The tomato seller that the distributor that carried with petrol still eats from it. So it's ignorance.
I can't agree less. Now let's look at time. Certainly is not on our side. Let's take one or two and we're gone. Let's look at the market dynamics. Now we would see law of demand and supply. Now we have, like you said, post-harvest losses. That does not stop the demand for this product. The demands are still there, huge demand. Now we're having losses. So we have few more demands, less supply. It affects the pricing. Now the question I'm putting, how does the current state of food market in Nigeria affect the pricing and access to food to the average Nigerian?
Let me get the question again.
Now we're looking at how the current state of food markets, what finally comes to the market. How does it affect the pricing, and how does it affect the access of food to the average person out there?
Pricing and food access. The major thing now, like you said, is demand and supply. Now we're having cases of flooding in our food basket of the nation. So the states that are more involved in agriculture for our staple foods, they are suffering from flooding. There's there's transport issues, there's infrastructure issues. If it was in the time that we have train system, then transportation costs may be lower or even out of it. So when the farmland is destroyed and the farmer's yield is less, he will charge higher. He will charge higher to be able to sustain himself for the remaining, that is the product that are remaining. And of course, you add all these costs add up before you get to the final consumer. And even though we have less produce, the post-harvest losses are still there. They don't respect that the produce was low, because the post-harvest losses happen on different stages: on the farm, in transit, during processing, in the market system. Our market does not create an enabling environment for food to be preserved. Most of the tomato sellers sell per day, because whatever remaining till the next day, the quality drops rapidly.
Sure.
So it is for many
They call it
yes.
breakable,
But
breaking
if
tomatoes.
there is cold storage facilities within the market areas, if there is cold transportation of these products, imagine if we are moving from farm in Jos in a cold van with a controlled environment, so the temperature and humidity are being monitored in transit, and it comes to Benin City where we are now, and it's stored in a cold facility.
Still maintain that
it will maintain its integrity and nutritional composition.
Do you think these things are possible?
They are very much possible.
Now, my last question to you before we go: you said it's work in progress. There is room for improvement. And like you've also said indirectly, there's also profit in this business. If there's room for improvement, there's profit. Why are other entrepreneurs not keen into these things? Now, if I invest my fund, I can make my profit. The payback period will be around 3 to 5 years or even more. Then you start maybe getting your profit, and as the case may be. Why are major investors not keen into these perceived opportunities that you are seeing?
The investment in Nigeria is tricky. The economy is not very stable. We all know that there's insecurity, there's political instability, and there's no continuity across a changing government. So those things scare away investors. Insecurity scares away investors. And also, even when we're talking about investors coming in from outside, apart from the government creating enabling environment, the basic infrastructure, road, train, and all these, another thing is, we as entrepreneurs, how ready are we? Are we investor ready? So many entrepreneurs, they want to be invested in, but they are not investor ready. So when you now ask of the business plan, there is no plan. There is no structure for the investment to rest in. There's no knowledge. So you see that it's a two-way thing. So a lot of work to need to be done by the entrepreneurs who develop themselves to become investor ready. And there's also the government part that needs to be done.
All right, that's been Ms. Ihedima from Emix Food, and she has given us, I think, beyond just this conversation, we need to keep having these conversations and see how we can do more of sensitization and more of awareness, especially to our farmers. Thank you for coming. We'll take a short break. When we return, Business Today continues, and we're looking at how fast can you learn. It is said in the 21st century, the illiterate in the 21st century is not the man that don't know, is the man that does not keep him or herself up to speed. How fast can you learn? We'll have a guest who will be teaching you out there how to learn fast in this meta-averse era. Stick around with us. Business Today continues.